All right, Ryan, thank you for taking the time to join me today on this quick conversation. So for those that are watching this, if you could, please give me a quick background on you, your name, your farming operation, and where you guys farm at.
Um, my name is Ryan Behan. We farm in central South Dakota around Platte. I guess the Behan feedlot is kind of the main operation here, and obviously with Behan feedlot, it's a feedlot operation is a big part of it. We also have some hay ground, some crop ground that's around the main place here.
Okay, awesome. And then you're married and got some kids, correct?
Yeah, wife
Yep.
and 3 kids.
Awesome. All right. So the first question I want to ask you is what was not working in life and business before coming into Legacy Farmer?
Um, we'll start with business. I'm fourth generation farm, and after my grandpa passed away, you could just tell we were getting too big. There was we weren't getting along. It wasn't being run like a business, and for me to step up and take over, we end up splitting up the farm, and for me to take over our chunk, it's like I have to grow. Something has to change. I'm used to annual wage, and now we do way more business than that in 1 month than I'm used to in a year. So I knew something had to change, and I just didn't know how or what needed to be done.
Yeah.
Um, I guess as far as the personal stuff, there's I always thought, yeah, that's good, but I didn't really know something needed to change there. But
Well, what's crazy, is the percentage of young farmers that are coming back into the operation, that have been watching dad, granddad do it for, 20, 30 years and being a, quote unquote farmhand. It's great because you got to learn the experience. But when it comes to actually you taking the reins over, it's like we really most guys coming in haven't been taught what it takes to truly like run a sizable farming operation. Like you said, you're getting paid a salary that's getting you by. But when it comes to actually being like the business owner, like these guys are literally being set up for failure because they've never been taught these things. Would you agree? Would you agree with that?
yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It was a big change.
Big change. And that's where we start to see, the old saying is first generation builds it, second generation grows it, and the third generation loses it. And I think a lot of that comes from just not having the experience of running it as a true business. Right.
Yep.
And so you took the courage, you took the leap of faith here to, invest in yourself and really figure out, because you had the drive. I mean, everybody that's in Legacy Farmer, like you have what it takes. It's just haven't been taught how to properly do it. Right.
Yep.
So my next question is then, so what's changed for you coming into Legacy Farmer?
Um, well, now we'll go back to the personal side of it. With my wife and family, there's been a lot of focus on them. I mean, before it was just all right. Here's the farm. That's what's important. And yeah, I have a family too, but you know that had to shift. I mean, you get into my family's obviously more important than the farm. I mean, if I had to choose between one or the other, it'd be my family. Um, just how to combine everything together, how to not just say I'm a farmer or I'm a husband or I'm a dad. It's combining all of those. And then there's other aspects that go into it, my physical health, my spiritual health. It's just one one big picture that it's not a bunch of little ones. It's all one big picture that has to all mesh together somehow, and that's where I'm at now. It's something that is transforming and meshing into a bigger version of myself.
Bigger version of yourself. And what's crazy is, coming into this, we all have the mindset around, we need to get the business back on point. Like it's all about profit. which is a big part of it. Don't get me wrong, the numbers, farmer metrics, entity structure. But as you saw coming into it, it's not just about business. There's the business side of things that are covered as well, because you got family on one side and you got the business on the other side. You really can't keep them separate,
Yeah,
right? Like it's so hard to keep them separate, but then you go into even more how you're taking care of yourself, like your well-being. Those types of things also come into play, because the whole structure really leads to a successful business. You're not taking care of
absolutely.
yourself, your family, like you're laying awake at night thinking about business. When you're working on the farm all day, you're thinking about your family, right? So it's just crazy to me just how we try to keep it separate, but it doesn't really exist,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
100%. So I've definitely witnessed your growth there as far as being invested into your overall well-being. We talk about the core four and getting your body and stuff back on point, staying on target, because we know it leads to business, leads to profit.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then next thing, what's your favorite thing about Legacy Farmer?
My favorite thing, huh? That's a tough one. There's a lot of favorite things. That's I suppose the thing I've gotten the most value out of, maybe is a way to put it, would be talking to other guys, learning what other people are doing, how other people are negotiating deals, and where I stand on some of those aspects. Um,
And why would you say that has been valuable for you?
well, because you can put dollar amounts on that pretty easily. It's hard to say, with my family, that's harder to gauge when you're talking dollars. It's an easy number to, you can look at something there. Um, I can look at the relationships, and that's a different aspect of it, but it's harder to say what the value is or what the change has been there.
So we obviously have the family side, which is hard to measure. Like it is, when you talk about getting a better relationship with your spouse, your kids, it is hard to measure 100%. When it comes to business, like you talked about with networking with the other members to see what they're doing, how would you say that's changed the way you make business decisions, but also the profits, or even just dollars prevented from losing from not doing something that you've learned another member has done and hasn't worked? Like, can you see the dollar signs for you and your operation that's really prevented you from making some of those same mistakes other guys? Because we talked about that. There is
Yeah,
no small mistakes. There
yeah,
are no small mistakes. And a
yeah,
lot of them aren't just 5 to 10 grand. Like it's
yeah,
hundreds of thousands of dollars that are being lost, like
absolutely.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And some of the stuff, that other guys are talking about, it's like, God, that's kind of in the back of my head. I see that coming. Um, oh, I mean, that's going back to some of the marital problems, and when you combine the business and the marriage together, it's some other guys are a little farther ahead than I am in the whole process, and it's like, hey, these are problems I'm running into, and it's like, now that you say that, I can see some of that happening in my life. We better get ahead of that right now before it does become a problem.
Yeah.
So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, 100%. Because what's crazy is that you get to see how other guys are running their operations, and like I don't know about you, but growing up on the farm, like nobody, and I mean nobody, was really sharing with each other how they were running the business or even talk about their mistakes. Like
Yeah.
everything was all picture perfect from the outside. You think everybody
Oh,
had it
absolutely.
together, you know? And it's like there's so much value in knowing how somebody else is doing something, but most farmers and ranchers have that mindset that they're not going to share it. Like it's protected information.
Well, yeah, you think you're the only one with that problem on some of those things. I mean,
Only one with the problem. And that if somebody else were to find out that you were having that problem, boy, does it mean that you're a failure.
yep.
We identify that as being a failure, which is such a problem. it is such a problem. And you were able to see that as an asset. And that's really what we establish here, is seeing that as an asset, because when you can share that with one another and help another person from saving another problem, you start to recognize that you're not the only one with this problem. Like there's other people who are doing the exact same thing, and we're helping you solve that problem or preventing a problem from ever happening that's going to save you money down the road. Like that's the whole point of it,
Yeah.
right? Okay, last question. Now, if you were to say if some, let's say somebody was sitting on the fence. Okay, they've been listening to the podcasts, the YouTube page, Facebook ads. Like we get a lot of people that are looking at Legacy Farmer, have been for, let's say, a year or 2 years, and they finally fill out an application, or maybe just they're just sitting on the fence. Like they're thinking, is this guy like, is any of this legit? Is this real? If you were to give a piece of advice to somebody that was looking at Legacy Farmer and haven't made the commitment yet to fill out an application, to get on the phone with us and see if we can help you move forward, what would be a piece of advice? What would you tell somebody who would be sitting on the fence?
Um, the so I was sitting on the fence for a while. I mean, and part of it is just my situation. It wasn't I didn't know what was going to happen with everything. But so I looked at it for was it 6, 8 months, something like that, just on the fence.
And I
And
think we had like what, three, I think we had 3 or 4 calls
I,
before
I think it was.
we got in.
And yeah, the thing that first intrigued me was it's not just the business, it's your whole life that's changing, or that you're putting into this. But kind of the tipping point for me was somebody was it was I'm stuttering here, but the dollar amount that's going through this business. I mean, we're bigger than anybody on Main Street, basically. I mean, just the sheer volume of stuff. And I'm worried about how am I going to handle these little problems when I have bigger ones that are coming up. I mean, I should have said that the other way around. How am I going to handle these big problems? How am I going to handle the big stuff if I can't figure out the little problems in my life? So just do it is kind of the back or the bottom line there.
Well, because like, I don't know about you, but growing up, like you were never taught to spend money on yourself. You always put the business, the farm first. Every dollar goes back in. Like focusing on your mindsets, your skill sets. Like that was nothing I was ever taught to do growing up. Right? You just kind of grinned and bared it and just kind of move forward and push forward, kind of stuff everything down. But yet, like that right there is the root issue of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get stuck in that. They just can't make that commitment to themselves. But you were shining proof of, yes, it takes, some of these guys take some time to process or to make a decision. But also, like, what's the cost if you don't do anything? Like if you would have, if you wouldn't have done anything, what would the cost have been?
Yeah, that'd have been well, like I said, the dollar amount is one thing. There's other aspects too that there's an emotional side of it.
Yeah, 100%. So awesome, man. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you for joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.